Right about that. There hasn't been anybody that's won 2 weeks in a row. As a matter of fact, Gary Carrington last week really put it to Dave Richards with a three-bagger toward the end of the match, picking up almost $600 in bonus money. And speaking of Gary Carrington of Plastown, New Hampshire, our number 3 seed, let's take a look at him right now. He's got an average of 135, a high single of 196, and his home bowling center is Park Place in Windham, New Hampshire. Again, he's our 3rd seed and advances this week to meet our number 2 seed, who, of course, is Jeff Atkins. Now, Jeff is out of the western part of the state, Springfield. Back in April, when we had the Easter Sunday singles here at Leda Lanes, he picked up first prize of $5,000. No stranger to big money pressure. And let's take a look at his style and his delivery. A high single for Jeff Atkins of 211. High triple of 514, and he has a high roll-off score of 28-12, which is a Candlepin bowling tournament record. So, 2 heavy hitters going head-to-head on what will be another great match, Dick.
A 182 third game for Gary Carrington last week. Really a mark to shoot for, and we have 2 bowlers who are looking to advance. As we begin our series today from the Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, we're back with today's match right after this. Here you see the 5 bowlers who began our series a couple of weeks ago. The 5 seeds determined by a drawing that was held prior to our first match. The 5 bowlers were the top 5 finishers in the Easter Sunday bowl-off at Leda Lanes in Nashua. First week, number 4, Dave Richards, down Craig Holbrook. Second week, it was Gary Carrington downing Dave Richards. And today you have Carrington taking on the 2nd seed, Jeff Atkins, with Tom Olsta waiting in the wings. So we're set to go with week number 3 on Stars and Strikes, and our first bowler to step to the lane is Gary Carrington of Plastown, New Hampshire.
You suppose Gary's had a chance to spend all that bonus money he made last week yet?
He had a big finish last week where he finished his 3rd game with a 182, which included, we'll run it down for you in a minute, from the 6th frame on. As he shoots for a spare here, he went spare, spare, strike, strike, strike to finish with 5 marks in a row, $600 in bonus money, and a 182 string, and a 9 box to start out.
It was a pretty unusual match in that things were pretty nip and tuck for the first 2.5 games, and all of a sudden he broke loose with all those marks and, I mean, buried Dave Richards by 81 pins. I mean, he made up almost all those 80 pins in like 5 or 6 boxes.
Well, he had a 112 second half.
Yeah, there you go. That'll help.
Not quite starting out the same way. And a 9 box. And now we get our first look at Jeff Atkins from Springfield, Massachusetts, 43 years old. Father of 2, letter carrier for the U.S. Postal Service for 19 years, averaging around 131, 132, a high single of 211, and a high triple of 514.
Stunning statistics. Welcome to Leda Lane.
And on his way to a 300 game. We'll watch it again.
Well, that'll be history if that happens. That would turn him into an old man very quickly if all 12 strikes went that slowly.
Moving over to lane 33 on the head pin again.
All right, so a 280 game would settle for that.
He was right there.
He was.
And he missed it.
The danger of using the double wood when it's not directly in front or actually touching the pin, that'll happen to you from time to time.
And a 9 box. 28 for 2 boxes and a 10-pin lead for Jeff Atkins, who lives in Springfield, and he was accompanied to Leda Lanes in Nashua today by one of the legends in New England Candlepin bowling, Charlie Jutras, who was one of the early stars on the old bowling show in Boston, and just a legendary name in Candlepin bowling.
We'll beautiful thing about Candlepin bowling, it's one of those sports that you can age gracefully. I mean, we're looking at a series of bowlers all month long who are basically around 40 years old, and their skills have probably gotten better as they've gotten older. So we've got the 2 and the 7 with a little bit of wood helping. I'm sorry, the 2 and the 10.
And an 8 box. Slow start in his first game for Gary Carrington. What a finish last week. That second half was memorable. Punching through and getting 4.
But you know, he didn't start out on a ball of fire, 114 and 121, and then all of a sudden he found it. And it just took 3 or 4 frames to put it away.
And that will be a 9 bucks.
9 and a wiggle.
All of the bowlers that have been on the show thus far averaging in the general vicinity of 130. I can recall as a kid growing up in Worcester and following Candlepin bowling on TV and in the lanes around Worcester at the time, that 110, 112 was phenomenally high as an average. The averages have come up.
And there's still nothing wrong with a 110 or 112 average, but it isn't going to make you too much money.
Atkins leaving the 4 horsemen on the right. And converting for the 10 box. And a 12-pin lead after 3 for Jeff Atkins. Watch him pick up the 4 horsemen, textbook style right there.
Maintaining a 12-pin edge over Gary Carrington. He'll be bowling opposite a 9 box from Gary. Another split.
If you'd like to join us, our next taping of Stars and Strikes at Leda Lanes on Route 101 West in Nashua will be on the 18th of November, 10 o'clock in the morning. Hope to see you. Great crowd on hand for our first series, watching the top bowlers in New England compete. And he played the wood perfectly to get the 2 on the right, but left the 7-pin in the corner. And a 10 box. And a 13-pin lead for Jeff Atkins after 4 boxes of our first game.
Only 1 mark between our 2 bowlers so far, and that was the opening strike from Jeff Atkins. We thought that might be setting the tone for things today, but so far that's not the case.
Carrington on the head pin, and there's a strike for Gary Carrington.
Gary answers back with his first strike of the match.
Gary had 3 in a row last week, won the $525 carryover 3-strike bonus, which reverts back to $500 for this match today. And there's 2. Well, Gary will be looking for another payday, won't he? Watch it again. This time, delayed reaction. In slow motion, there it comes. Jeff Atkins tries to answer with a 7-pin drop.
Can be a little unnerving to try to come back after a double strike when your opponent throws it bing bang just like that.
Chopping 1. And a 9 box. When I was talking with Jeff on the phone last week prior to the program, he being from Springfield, and as a kid having had relatives in Springfield, I used to bowl at a bowling alley in Springfield called the X. It was at an intersection called the X. And I asked Jeff about it. It's no longer there.
Condominiums, probably.
Probably it is. But Jeff bowled there as a kid as well. Bowls out of Midtown in Springfield. Nice shot, just missed it.
A little too full on the 3-6. Couldn't quite cut it over to the 4-7. hoping for a 10 box at best.
He's 43 years old, began bowling when he was 5. 10 box, 67 now. The crowd anticipates Gary Carrington looking for his 3rd strike in a row and $500 in bonus money for the triple strike bonus. Gary Carrington did it last week. Can he do it again? Here it is. Missed the head pin.
I guess he didn't want to be greedy. Save a little bit for the other bowlers. Beautiful shot.
There's some bonus money.
It's not 500, but he'll take it.
Watch it again. He hit it right in the pocket. And a 5-pin fill.
It's the 4 horsemen and the 8-pin in the back. And a piece of wood that could help out, but it seems to be rolling to the right.
He's got a shot at it. Oop, just missed it. And a 10 box.
Rolling out a 37-pin lead already this early, Dick, and with his potential that we've seen, he can really run away with things quickly if Jeff Atkins doesn't put a couple together as well.
104 through 8 for Gary Carrington. Jeff Atkins missing the head pin, leaving 6. It's on the head pin and
wearing the bright red shirt to match his ruddy complexion, he tells me, from a couple days of golf. 12 handicap, so he's a fine golfer as well, besides being a great bowler.
And a 10 box. And as the other bowlers before him on our show, a participant in the World Team Tournament between the United States and Canada. Won the high average twice. Top 5 the last 5 years. Owns the world record with John Miller, a combined 1458. And will be headed up to Halifax, Nova Scotia in November for the annual competition. This is a pretty important shot right here for Jeff. This is a makeable spare with the deadwood set up the way it is. And he's got it. He doesn't have it. He left that 5
Made a liar out of us.
I thought he hit it perfectly.
It looked pretty good.
And a 10 box. 17-pin lead for Gary Carrington through 8 boxes of the first game. This is week 3 of the brand new series of Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. Carrington trying it again. A 9-pin drop and plenty of wood. Gary trying to get that wood to stop. Came out a little bit far. Might make it a little difficult for him. Oh, he's got the spare and the 4th mark of the first game.
He's definitely into a groove. Hasn't left a pin standing since his 9 box in the 4th frame.
His first 4 boxes were very ordinary. After that, he's been on fire. He's on the head pin, right through the head pin.
The dreaded spread eagle strikes again.
122 thus far for Gary. He's got a shot at it. It nudges it. And Gary does a little bit of a an Irish jig.
Little flair for the dramatic. But that is a great shot to see go down. Not that often will you see it happen.
10 box, 128. first game for Gary Carrington. Watch this and how close it comes. Watch that piece of wood come from behind. It's going to come. It's going to nudge the 3-pin and just get it to wobble a little bit. And that's about it.
Couldn't talk it down. A couple of marks needed here by Jeff Atkins to tighten this thing up going into the second game.
And he's got a spare leave there with the 1-3-6. And he's got the spare. Right on the money for Atkins, answering a spare in the box by Gary Carrington. 3 marks in a row is worth $50 to our bowlers. Each additional mark, another $20. Triple strike is worth $500. 4 strikes in a row, $1,000. There's a strike. That's a solid pocket hit. So Gary Carrington's making this first game a lot closer.
Speaking of money, our runner-up today will take home $250 plus whatever bonus money they might accrue, which has already happened for Gary.
And now Jeff's trying for some of his own. Well, it's a makeable shot. And the wood is not that advantageous, but it is a makeable shot.
This one's got to be right on the money. The wood will, as you say, not really help out.
Got a shot at it. He's got it. That's $50. And a flurry to finish at 127. A 1-pin differential. After 1 game at Leda Lanes, it's Gary Carrington leading Jeff Atkins by 128 to 127. Great finish. Don't go away. Game 2's coming right along.
Time constraints, we now rejoin our program with Jeff Atkins bowling his 5th box of the second game.
Ready to go at Leda Lanes. Jeff Atkins, who's working on a double mark, a strike spare situation here, steps up to lane 34, looking for some more bonus money. And the second pocket hit leaves 6 standing, 4 on the fill, with some deadwood. Got a shot at it. $50 in bonus money. Added to 50 from the first string, and that's $100. Watch it again. The sweeping action of the deadwood. Looking for more. Solid hit. Here comes some deadwood. Watch out. It could make it move. It hits, rolls behind it.
One thin pin 60 feet away. And these guys consistently cover time after time. Hope I didn't jinx him.
Looking for another $20 in bonus money for each subsequent mark. Waiting for the pin to settle. For his 4th mark in a row. He's got it.
Just piling up that bonus money. At the very least he'll make today is $250 if he does not win, so he's doing all right.
On top of that, 120, 50 from the first string and 70 in this one.
Putting the squeeze on Gary Carrington, who had the big flourish last week, as you recall, beating Dave Richards with a triple strike in the last couple frames to go winning away at 81 pins.
Now Gary Carrington working on a spare. On the head pin. How do you knock them all down in front and leave 3 in the back row still standing?
And another 4 or 5 on the deck, which will help him out if you can get him to scatter the right way.
A lot of deadwood sitting around. Gary tries to size up the situation. Well, not sure if you try to hit that one in the middle right on the nose. Let it fly.
A little too far right, perhaps, that time.
That's what I would have done the first time around. That's 10. And earned a 53.5 up against a 73.5 for Jeff Atkins. Atkins now still with a spare to work on as Gary Carrington moves into the 6th frame.
Suddenly finding himself 29 pins ahead of Gary Carrington for the match.
Well, Gary again trying to mix him up, but leaving a split with some wood. 3-4-7.
Hit it just right.
3-6-7, I should have said. And a 9 box. 62 for Gary Carrington through 6 boxes. Jeff Atkins working on 4 marks in a row. 83 plus this ball. Thin hit, good action. Tough leave. 8-pin fill on the spare.
Hope you'll join us next week. Tommy Olsta, the top seed in this series. For the ultimate prize of $1,000, you'll play the winner of today's match, Gary or Jeff.
Olsta making his Channel 50 debut.
Which is hard to believe for a guy who's been bowling professionally on television for almost 25 years.
And on 92 times.
Phenomenal.
Didn't get the roll. Was trying to squeeze that dead wood to kick it to the right and couldn't quite get it to go. So this will be an open frame, and the string of marks ends for Jeff Atkins with a 10 box. Figured Tom Olsta saw Don Gillis more than Mrs. Gillis.
Right idea. Missed it by just inches. Getting the wood to snap across from left to right, leaving the 10-pin all by itself.
And a 9 box. 110 through 8 for Jeff Atkins. Watch this, almost, there it comes sliding across and just missing the 10-pin. Gary Carrington. Right on the head pin. With an opportunity here with that wood angled properly, and I think it is.
Can he squeeze the ball far enough to the right of the 5-pin to deflect it to get the wood is the question. Boy, that's an accurate shot.
Yeah, I think he can get that 5-pin on either side. He could either get it with the pin or with the ball.
Anything but head on, I suppose.
Right. Didn't take it.
Where did the wood go? It seemed to wrap itself around the 10-pin and never took it down.
10 box for Carrington. Watch this pin wrap right around the 10-pin. There it goes. Just wasn't quite angled properly. Four horsemen on the left side.
1, 2, 4, and 7. A lot of ways to make it, a lot of ways to miss it.
Looks like he's got it. No, I thought he had a shot at it from the outside.
A little too full on the head pin. A couple inches either way makes all the difference.
And a 10 box.
Time running out on this particular string, but there's still one more big game to go for Gary Carrington to make some of this ground that he lost to Jeff on the strength of Jeff Atkins' 4 marks from the 3rd through the 6th frames.
28-pin in this 28-pin lead in this game. 27-pin overall. right through. Again, too full.
Best he can probably hope for is an 8, unless he gets some real lucky bank shot action off the side walls.
And a 6 box. Our thanks to Chris Bovier from the host Lido Lanes for keeping score for the crowd here at the Lanes. Ray Simoneau, the owner, Sean Howard, the manager, for their hospitality. Sean was a great help in getting our computer graphics and computer scoreboard working for the broadcast, and Ray with his hospitality. We thank them very much. And a half Worcester.
You mentioned Chris Bovier, who's our scorekeeper for the gallery today. Very fine young bowler, 19, 20 years old, one of the products of their junior program here. And you will see him, I confidently predict, before too long here on Stars and Strikes. In fact, he was on the old Skin series last year.
Well, a couple of punches out for Atkins. Worcester on each side, and now from the head pin he picks 1. That's a 5 box. So he finishes with 11 in the last 2 boxes, a 121 string.
I'll tell you what, 2 marks, and if Gary fills them well, he's right back in within a pin or 2, and of course a double would put him ahead. Not out of the question for Carrington.
Gary trying to take advantage of the opportunity. He punches through the head pin and leaves himself a tough split.
Two, 4, 7, and the 10, with some wood still moving on the plate.
Now, would you play the wood, or would you just try to slide that front pin over to the right? I think I'd go for the pin and try to slide it to the right, into the wood. That's what he's trying to do, and missing the head pin. Well, it wouldn't have taken it, as he found out after the fact. 9 pins in the box on 91 through 9. Needs a mark here to really get close for the third game.
Pull it within 10 at best.
He's right on the head pin. There it is.
To nobody's surprise, Carrington comes through under pressure in the 10th. If he can string another one behind that one, he can pretty much pull up even with Jeff Atkins, and basically it'll be a one-game match again. Everybody almost all even, but he needs a strike here.
He's right there, right on the head pin, an 8-pin drop. And a 9-pin fill for a 110. 110 for Gary Carrington and a 2-game total of 238. It is a 10-pin lead for Atkins as you watch the strike that Carrington notched in the 10th frame. As we go to a break, don't go away. It's a 1-game match. A 10-pin margin separates these 2 fine bowlers. Our third game's coming right up. As we mentioned earlier, we're giving you an opportunity to participate in our weekly telecasts with the bonus ball contest coming back in a couple of weeks. You can participate by sending your postcard with your name and address and the number 1 through 10. Pick a number to be matched by our bowler and send it to Lido Lanes, 340 Amherst Street, Nashua, 03063. The bonus ball contest is coming back in a couple of weeks. Send your postcard today to Lido Lanes, 340 Amherst Street, Nashua, 03063. We begin our third game with a 10-pin differential with Gary Carrington, the first bowler. He trails Jeff Atkins 248 to 238, starting our third game. You saw Gary's hands go to the sky as soon as he left. As soon as the ball left his hand, he knew he was in trouble. On the head pin.
Give it a good shot, leaving the 6 and the 8.
It's the 8.5, I think, right now where that pin moved.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that in the last couple of weeks. 2 points for the field goal? I don't think so. Just an 8-pin start. He's got 10 pins to make up somewhere along the line.
Got to throw a couple of marks together.
And he knows how to do that.
As we saw last week.
Oh, yeah, to the tune of over $500.
Well, don't give up yet. Here comes one more piece of wood at it. Not going to get to the pin, though. Gary has a high single of 196. He had a 182 last week on the show. A high triple of 480. And as we mentioned earlier, when you're averaging 135, you're throwing 400s every night.
Yeah.
Now that wood is bothering Gary. Gary's trying to get it to move out of the way. It won't listen to him, though.
It's got a mind of its own.
It won't listen to him. He wants just a little bit of an opening where he can squeeze the ball by the pin. That wood is just continuing to rock, and Gary is continuing to wait. It won't stop. Back and forth it goes.
Excellent play-by-play on the rolling wood, Dick. I must compliment
Gary,
you.
this is only an hour show. He's got a shot. What a great shot. What a great shot by Gary Carrington. Just had a little daylight and got the ball by.
Just barely got into the 24-second clock, but it was worth the wait. Crowd appreciating his efforts, of course.
Now Jeff Atkins. Answering with an 8-pin drop and a spare leave. The 4-7. That wood is not a factor. Atkins opens with a spare.
Yeah, we'll know within about 15 minutes who Tom Olster's opponent will be next week. He, the top seed from a drawing that we did several weeks ago before we got all 5 bowlers together for the first telecast to see who among the top 5 Easter Sunday singles finishers would be, in what particular order they'd be seated.
On the head pin, Atkins, but leaves a split, fills the spare with 6.
Not especially helpful wood in this case, I don't think.
He's got a shot at it. Can't get it to go. Tried to dance it down.
6-pin, wouldn't hear of it, though.
And a 9-box. Watch the pins dance around, but can't quite get the last one to fall. Great camera work by our TV 50 crew, including the always stylish Bob Dold, Joel Tupper, Steve Drouse, our director Vic Cross in the truck. The slow-mos handled by Dave McCarthy, Larry Taylor, and Paul Hunter. Our TV 50 crew on site here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, bringing you Candlepin Bowling. The tradition continues of Candlepin Bowling on television every Sunday at noon.
New show every week now.
And Gary Carrington with the spare.
Gary, one of the reasons this game stays so fascinating for so many people, because you just never know what's going to happen. You've got an odd combination of pins. How's he going to knock him down?
Well, Gary's trying to make this thing interesting here. He's pulling pretty close to even right now. Just missed the head pin and takes a 5-pin fill.
The 4 horsemen and the 9-pin in the back row, the 9-pin being the most difficult one to take out.
There's about a 5-pin differential in this match right now. Gary gets the spare, and $50 in bonus money for Gary Carrington. Watch it again as he kicked it off the side wall. Here it comes.
1 pin stayed on the plate just long enough to barrel into the 9-pin, which, believe me, doesn't happen for the average bowler that frequently.
So Gary has $100 in bonus money. And now Jeff Atkins, who actually finds himself trailing in the match now, or could if he doesn't mark in either of these 2 boxes.
Turns very, very quickly. 3 marks. We saw it last week with 3 strikes. It just turns so quickly.
Just a little thin. And a 9 box for Atkins. He needs to mark to keep the lead. Right on the head pin. How's that for answering? This is an easy game, isn't it?
They make it look easy, Dick.
So after 4 in the third, we're in a nip-and-tuck match at Leda Lanes in Nashua. Don't go away. We'll come back with the conclusion right after these messages. Both bowlers marked in the 4th frame. Gary Carrington working on 3 marks in a row. We're at Leda Lanes in Nashua. Dick Lusk with Mike Morin. And when you come to Leda Lanes, do what we do. Go to the Kahala Chinese Restaurant and Lounge right next door, 350 Amherst Street, Route 101A in Nashua, exit 7W. Off the Everett Turnpike, the Kahala Chinese Restaurant and Lounge. Takeout, delivery, a terrific buffet, and banquet facilities are always available at the Kahala. Here's Gary Carrington working on a mark, looking for 4 in a row. He nudged that 4 pin about 3 inches. I have never seen more pins dance than I've seen over the last couple of weeks.
Well, this actually should help him out just a little bit. At least we know he's not going to chop it off by going directly at the 4 pin. Plus the wood is touching frozen wood, so that should help him as well.
The only way he can miss this is by putting the ball in the channel. That's a spare. That's 4 marks in a row. That's another $20 in bonus money. 120 thus far today for Gary Carrington, 120 for Jeff Atkins.
Well, with Christmas being about 6 weeks away, this is, I'm sure, some much needed Christmas shopping money for his 2 sons, Matt and Mike, and his wife, Kathleen.
Gary Carrington trying to add to that. Of course, Gary won $525, almost $600 in bonus money last week. Think that's been spent yet?
Yeah. With 3 other people in the family, I think you know the answer to that one, Dick.
Did the best he could with a difficult situation there.
And a 76 half, which is a great game going.
And a 10 box for 86 through 6. And now Jeff Atkins steps up, working on a strike, trying to hold on to his lead. He came into the game with a 10-pin lead over Gary Carrington. A 514 triple is his high. A little bit thin. They continue to fall.
His ball normally breaks from left to right, but he couldn't get it to come back quite enough that time. Still has 1 more ball to fill the strike.
Plenty of dead wood to help out if he hits the head pin. How is that standing? It's not.
It was in doubt, however, for just a few seconds. The 9-pin, last to go.
Well, he's battling to keep that lead, and watch it again. He hit that wood out in front, and just on the last spin, it kicked out the final pin.
And a very necessary spare for him.
Now shooting for bonus money. And an 8-pin drop and a spare leave. Leads in the match by 6. Having lost 4 pins off his 10-pin advantage. And he'll not get the spares. He missed the head pin.
Bit of a skip lob, and it caused the ball to go too far to the right, leaving the head pin.
So both bowlers will have open frames in the 6th box. Both will have 10s, as a matter of fact. A 4-pin lead in the game for Gary Carrington. A 6-pin lead in the match for Jeff Atkins.
And it was at this point last week that Gary Carrington really took it to Dave Richards with all those strikes.
So we're headed for a fantastic finish.
No doubt.
Somebody should coin that phrase. Carrington with a 7. And a mark.
So the match lead goes back to Carrington once again.
These guys thrive on the pressure, don't they?
Well, they've done it so many times. I mean, you look at the 60 times on television for Gary Carrington, 36 times for Jeff Atkins, you know, 100 times at least between the two of them. This pressure is old hat to them.
Carrington working on a spare. Right on the nose and a strike.
Well, this is what he did last week. He really hit
Watch
the big
it again.
finish.
Right on the nose. Gets the great action.
Backdoor on the 3-6.
Atkins tries to answer. He will need a mark to maintain his lead. At least one, perhaps two. And he'll take it.
Well, we've seen a lot of pins slide over today and stay standing, but we've also seen some great sidewall action as well, Dick.
That wasn't pretty, but he'll take it. I mean, it wasn't textbook as it kicked off the side and came back and scooted it out.
No, it wasn't pretty, but you look at the score sheet and you can't really tell that it was an ugly shot. He'll take
it's
it.
a line drive in the box score, as they say.
Exactly.
Punches it right straight through. A 3-pin drops.
Again, penalized for such extreme accuracy. It isn't fair.
It's the kind of thing you couldn't do if you tried.
No, exactly. Well, these guys probably could. I know. I couldn't do it. Yeah, the key is to hit that cluster over on the left side and then somehow get some activity going with the deadwood to backdoor the other three. Didn't happen.
Well, he'll take a tough 6 box at that point and a 101 through 8 boxes for Jeff Atkins.
Well, the future of this match is really in Gary Carrington's hands right now. He can pretty much put Jeff away with a double. And even a spare would make it very difficult. Because he's on about a 130 or 140 pace. At least.
He's up 5 pins plus a couple of balls in the match right now. Haven't we seen this before?
I didn't think we were going to be in the reruns quite this early in the season, Dick.
Watch it again, and the ball explodes in the pocket.
Well, we know it's at stake right here, ladies and gentlemen.
That was fair. He's got $50 in bonus money right now. Another 50.
Well, you can just hear the crowd buzzing, hoping for another strike.
$500 shot coming right here. Here it is.
Let's take that pin and bronze it for him. Let him take it home. That cost him $500 right there.
That's a $500 pin right there, ladies and gentlemen. The 5 pin.
But more importantly, it should pretty much close the match out and assure his position next week against Tommy Ulsta. Well, 165 and a ball. Last week he had 182 for his final string. He'll be, you know, at least 170 this week, Dick. He flourishes. He finishes with a flourish every week. $170. Last week, final string 182, and another 400 triple for Gary Carrington at 408.
What a finish.
Well, just another day at the office for him with a 405 average for 3 strings.
Jeff Atkins trying to close strong.
Which, by the way, he was not mathematically eliminated until that ball.
Ooh, he leaves a 5-pin.
That one's not a $500 5-pin, however, as Mr. Carrington's was just a moment ago.
And a 10 box.
141 is the best he can do, which would give him 400 even.
Gary Carrington 417 last week. And a 9 box to finish out with a 120. And a total of 368 for Jeff Atkins. So Gary Carrington will advance to the championship match, taking on top seed Tom Olsten next week. It was 408 for Carrington, 368 for Jeff Atkins. We'll come back to talk to our bowlers in just a moment. It was another strong performance by Gary Carrington as he defeats Jeff Atkins 408 to 368 at Leda Lanes in Nashville. Let's call out our runner-up, Jeff Atkins, to accept his prize money. Jeff? Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
A check for $250. And we have some bonus money for you, too, as well, $120 for putting some marks together. What can you say about a guy when he puts a streak together like Gary did?
Well, Gary is probably the toughest bowler around, along with Tommy. And if you don't bring your best game to bowl against him, you don't have much of a chance. And I wasn't really on today, but Gary was, he's too good.
It was a great performance by Gary. Thanks for you, and good luck to you, and hope to see you back again soon.
Okay.
That's Jeff Atkins, runner-up to Gary Carrington. Let's bring out Gary again. Gary Carrington, old hat at this, and thank you. You can hold on to that. Picked up one of my cards that I dropped, and we have $190 in bonus money for you, and you'll be back again to meet Tom Olsten next week for the championship and the right to continue on in our Tournament of Champions. And you're on fire. I don't know if I want to touch you. You're red hot.
Yeah, the third string's pretty good to me. The first two, a little tough. The third string's been good. I'm going to need all 3 games on the next match. I'll tell you that right now.
All right, Gary, good luck. Thanks very much. Congratulations to you. Gary Carrington will be back next week to meet Tom Olsten in the championship matches. We're set for the #1 and against #3.
All of New England is waiting for this match. It's been way too long since we've seen Tommy Olsten on New England Candlepin television. Stars and Strikes be here next week for Tommy and Gary.
For Mike Moore and I'm Dick Lutz from Leda Lanes in Nashua. We'll see you next week for Candlepin Bowling Stars and Stripes.